Welcome back to Seven Figure Flipping. Today, I am super excited. I have a guest that is not just an amazing investor, an amazing person. She is super important to me. She has been such an influence on my personal journey to building my businesses. She coached me. She's helped me grow personally. Like, I love her. She's the most organized person I know too. Best system builder in the world. Her name is Amanda Howell, and she is an investor in Oklahoma. And she has been through the ringer. She's built it all up, tore it down, rebuilt it, and she's built big active income. She's built a great net worth with passive income. And she's just a model to me and somebody for all of us to look at. And today she's here with us to share some of her challenges, some of her successes, and how she did that. Amanda, thank you so much for coming on today. I am so excited to have you here.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, for having me. And I don't feel like I could be in better hands. It's so great that you're offering this to all of these investors out here, giving us a chance to tell our story so they can learn from that. So thank you.
Yep. Love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so let's get into it because I know that this is so valuable to people, especially like looking back after 5 or 6 years of doing this. All these lessons learned could literally just save you $1 million right now if you just listen to what Amanda says. So Amanda, if you could kind of start at the beginning. I know how you built your business, but how did you start and grow your business, and where did you grow to? And then what changes did you make along the way to get to where you are?
Okay, well, that's a great question. I'm going to start a little bit at the beginning just because I want to make sure that people understand that anybody can do this. When I started, I was a teacher, full-time teacher, in 2009. So there was a lot going on in real estate during that time. And I was married. We actually purchased, I think, 25 houses that year. So I started with, I had a lot of capital. So I had the security net, from my husband at the time, but I was also a full-time teacher. So I was able to balance all of that. You know how this goes, of course, but, managing my full-time job, doing this on the side. And then in 2014 had a very abrupt and kind of, a divorce that was very catastrophic. Just financially, everybody knows divorce is hard. This one ended up, I had left my teaching position at this time. So I was absolutely destitute after getting divorced and had to start completely over after my first experience with real estate. And so I ended up going back to teaching, and I had one house that I owned and it was free and clear. So I took some equity from that and daisy chained so I could buy some houses. And that's how I got started back again in 2014. Still a full-time teacher. Took me about 10 years of just kind of, 1 year I'd do 3 flips. I'd pick up a couple rentals here and there. So by 2014, I had 10 rentals, which I felt like was pretty good. And at the time, they were all on individual mortgages, no commercial financing or anything like that. And so that was, sorry, I may have said the year wrong, but that was about 2017, 2018. And that's when I left teaching and decided to pursue this full time. And when I did do that, I really didn't know what to expect. I thought I was going to be a lone wolf and started out that way. Then I went to Flip Hacking Live in 2018, and that changed everything, which I've talked about this a lot, but it was so unlike me to go in the first place. As a teacher, I'm probably the cheapest human on the planet. And so for me to invest in that was just wild. I just didn't have the money. I put it on a credit card, but I believed in myself. And so I came out there and as far as like the pivotal change in my life, everything changed after that. Absolutely everything changed. And I know we've talked about this before, like it's a shortcut, it's a college education, it's all the things, but finding this mastermind and finding the tools and the resources to kind of take what I already knew and systematize it and make it into a business and take, principles and be able to replicate them and then build something new. So it's like it married my good instincts with best practices, if that makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah. So I come back from San Diego and I'm like guns blazing. I'm going to just start this huge company. And so I did. I started recruiting. I hired like 10 people. So keep in mind, Flip Hacking Live's like October 2018. I hardly have any money. I hire 10 people, but I get them all kind of like commission based. And so then I think our first event after that is in February with Bill Allen. And I call him, he calls it the scarcity freakout. That's kind of our nickname for it. Because I called him right before that event and said, "Hey, you guys are scammers. I haven't made any money. I'm going to lose everything. And, this is the biggest joke ever." And it just really kind of took all of that anxiety, dumped it on him. And he was like, "Well, kind of tell me where you are, what's going on." And this was January. And what I learned later, Adam, is it wasn't the fear of failure. It was the fear of success. Because what happened in February, we closed, I think it was like $93,000 was our net in February. In January, I'm ready to quit, you know? And
Oh
so
yeah.
it was so scary to be like, oh my gosh, this stuff works. Now what? Like, I've started this big company. Now people are depending on me to put food on their table. And I
Yeah.
think, go ahead.
I just want to pause there for a second. So you'd done real estate, right? Like you have a job and then you buy some rentals, everything kind of falls apart, life happens, which, hey, life does happen and things can get challenging. In the face of that adversity, you decided to bet on yourself and you're like, okay, I'm going to go do this real estate thing. So you meet this crazy group of entrepreneurs who are like, we're all growing our real estate businesses. Let's go. And you're like, cool, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. This is what I need in my life. And you start, and after you start, it gets hard. And you're like, this is like not working. What I find, and this like that happened to me too. You were coaching me at this time where I'm like working so hard, and I'm like, am I dumb? Like I can't be dumb. Like why isn't it? Why are other people doing X, but it hasn't hit for me?
Mm-hmm.
And over the years now, since you were like, dude, you're doing it, like just keep doing it, right? It's like you're not giving it enough time. Usually, is like, hey, everything looks good, man. You just got to keep going, which is what happened to me. Which it sounds like it's what happened to you because in the next month you hit and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, boom, I made money. Then that's even scarier,
That's a
right? So
new
now you're at
problem.
this. It's a whole new problem, and you're like, holy crap! Like all this money came in finally. How can I be a good steward of this? And like I've never had $100,000 a month business. What do I do now? So what did you do?
Well, I made a lot of mistakes, absolutely a ton of mistakes. I paid people too much, which I got some feedback from the industry about like, hey, this is kind of normal, and I just had this kind of teacher attitude, and so I was compensating way too high and too generously, and so that was kind of that was a new responsibility to manage all of that with other people, because real estate, you have the content knowledge, then you have the mindset, but then you have to have the actual business administrative side if you go that route. I'll kind of, my journey goes back to a lone wolf at the end, which I love where I am right now, but it's just, so I have the staff, I'm training them, I'm pouring all this money into marketing, and we really take off. Like it does take off. There is a science to this, and you and I were talking before we started just about culture, so I want to hit on that really quickly, because like
Please.
there is this big lie in real estate. Like it is so competitive. There's like everybody out there is just like flexing and flaunting. And so there becomes this mentality that we share that is like, if I'm not doing it this way, I'm not doing a good job. If I'm not scaling, if I'm not making this much money, if I'm not doing this many deals. So everything starts to be quantified. Literally, I went to a RIA meeting on Tuesday night, and like the first question I asked somebody, they're like, "Oh, well, I haven't bought anything because I have these contract for deed stuff," and goes into this thing. And I'm like, "Hey man, I'm just asking how you're doing. Like, I don't need a deal count." But we just get fixated. And so we have to redefine what success looks like. Right. And
Yeah.
so when I was coaching, like with you, we would talk about, and other folks, is like, what's your monetary goal? What are your life goals? And then you deconstruct it backwards. And so, no, but people don't do it that way. They just start going, they get into this groove of like momentum, 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 and they're busy, but not productive. They're making money, but not profitable. That was one of the lessons Bill told me, because during this time, one of the biggest mistakes I made after that, once I was building out the company and started having that big cash, is I started aggressively buying rentals. And he said to me, he's like, you're not profitable if you reinvest every single dollar. And that was like game changing for me, because I was
I
creating
think,
a revenue problem for the company being too aggressive on the rental side.
yeah, this is the big aha. As you know, Bill and I and the people in the community, we have this luxury of seeing all these businesses. Like you see all these other businesses, which is both dangerous and powerful. The danger is you get in here, you see the path, and you're watching our peers and these people maybe a step or two ahead of us, and they're just like going so fast, and you're feeling like I got to keep up and grow and grow and grow and grow. And you literally built a seven figure from a teacher to a seven figure. I think you were mostly wholesaling at the time,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and you added some flip exits and stuff along the way, and some rentals. And we look back at this and we looked at businesses, and obviously knowing kind of where your story ends, which is, or not ends, but where you are today, we'll tell the story. And we're like, what is it that is the true, like, what are people doing this for? What's the money for? What's the reason they like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you build wealth? And we start deconstructing everybody's business. Like we're on a whiteboard, we're like, this person, they bought these rentals. And honestly, it came back to the basics. You grow your active income, which you did massively at that time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're profitable or not, you literally generated $1 million in a year of cash. Like that is like insane to some people. It was insane to me. It was probably insane to you at the time, right? You decrease your expenses, which is sometimes where we get lost. And the capital you make in the middle, you reinvest into assets that produce cash semi-passively, passively. Could be the stock market, could be rentals, could be commercial. It doesn't really matter. The point is you get your money working for you. And fundamentally, that is investing, increasing active, decreasing expenses, investing the gap. And you were doing that. But even as a good, savvy investor, as smart as you are, there's a balance. Like, okay, active income, but now I'm dumping it all back in, which is too much into passive investment. So you're doing the right thing by buying assets, because ultimately in the long run, those things have served you so well, but you're not balancing it well at this time. So where did it go from there? How did you create the balance between the active and the passive?
Well, so you have to be in pain before you'll change sometimes. And so wholesaling, and I had this all backwards. I really thought that wholesaling and flipping was going to make me rich. Okay. And then I thought mistakenly my rentals were going to be cash flow, and it's totally flipped. The rentals create the wealth for me in my experience, and the asset like you're talking about, and then the wholesaling and flipping creates the cash or whatever. So once I painfully was learning that lesson, that I was listening to one of my friends the other night, and he said revenue solves most problems. And so I had to get back to that. I was like, okay, we're too aggressive with the rentals. I got to slow down on that. And then also we made our staff smaller. So we went from like 10 to 6. So we were leaner and meaner. And we still put our foot on the gas as far as marketing. The other thing that we did, though, also is we really, I will say we did this part well. We responded to the pivots really well. Because like when I'm coaching real estate folks, I always say, like, you don't have to survive the next 10 years. You just have to survive the next 9 months or the next marketing cycle. Like whatever's going on within our housing market, like you just have to, if it dips and goes low, you've got to pivot and figure out a way to still stay profitable. So we shrunk our size. We did have an office. We had a warehouse. I mean, we had t-shirts, we had company retreats, like the whole thing, and then we kind of course, 2020 happened. And like during the quarantine, we had 8 weeks where we didn't make $1, and I've got all these people I've got to pay. And so that also was kind of like, once we got through that, and then the market exploded, now we're doing flips instead of wholesaling because the margin's so good. So, and I only say that to say, like, when people ask me what I am, like, that's what's so great about real estate, is you can pivot and change according to how the market's reacting. And so we started flipping. So that meant a whole new wing, project manager. Now I'm starting to build my staff back up to where we're back at like 10 again by 2022. And I have all the same problems, by the way. I have my overhead is way too high. So my compensation package is way too high. The one thing too that, and I say this, I've heard people say, like, you just never stop marketing. Like, we cut back on our marketing costs, which is like a kiss of death. Like, if you're going to ever cut anything, marketing's the last thing to go. And so that was a mistake. And then because of my compensation that was so generous, I had like 3 people that quit at the same time. First quarter of 2022, my sales guy made $100K net.
Wow.
And so he's like, oh, well, I can go do this. And if you're watching, you're a talented salesman. I wish you the best of luck. But it's just like my team was like, oh, we can do this on our own. And I had this mass exodus. And I will say, to my own detriment, I wasn't the best leader. As a teacher, I kind of expected these people as adults to do their jobs. And I wasn't a good leader. I wasn't a good business owner. I was a great entrepreneur. I was a great visionary, but I wasn't measuring my KPIs like I should have been. I wasn't making sure that people were responsible, even though we were doing scorecards and some of that. So then we kind of started shrinking and went back down. So now I'm like, 4 people on the staff. And so we changed. And here's what's starting to happen is we're getting more profitable.
Isn't
And
that
by the way, like, this is crazy too, because like I worked almost a full year by myself last year, and I still did 50 houses. Like our production and then the revenue that I made, like the net, has just gotten bigger and bigger every year now that I'm on my own or whatever. So 22, whatever. So we've got the staff. And then just because kind of like life happens, somebody husband gets a coaching job here. So they're moving. So I didn't replace folks as they left. I just started it started morphing into a lifestyle business. My kids were in high school and I wanted to enjoy them while they were still here. And so I was okay with that, which was fabulous that I had that luxury. But that was really, I think, when the most learning happened, is once you stop and slow down enough to go, oh my gosh, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like? What are my income needs? Because what happens is we just keep going and grinding and hustling, and we lose sight of the goal, and we're just doing it, in my experience.
I think the goal changes though.
Well, that's
I
true.
think if I talk to Amanda Howell in 2018-19, you're like to the moon scale. Like, you genuinely probably had a goal. You saw something maybe in Bill or in Andy or in, the people in our world, and you're like, I really like what they have, and I believe I can do that too. Because I was there as well. I was looking at you guys. I was looking at the same things, and I was like, to the moon. And that was the goal at that time. But you also developed so many skills and became so good at what you were doing, to the point, which is, don't miss this, you could do it as a 1-person show and do it extremely effectively.
Yes.
You couldn't have done that in 2018 with that level of effectiveness. Like, it wouldn't, like, you needed that time and that experience that you gained, to the point where you can go, I know exactly how to do this. I don't even need anybody. I'll just keep all this money.
Yes.
I'm most fascinated though, because I want to, so your goals change, your life changes. Obviously your kids are getting ready to head off to, different states and that, and you want to kind of spend time and pour into them in the best way that you can. And so your goals are kind of morphing, but along the way you had been acquiring rentals, which are building you wealth. And you're also kind of making your active business more efficient. You don't need to, you realize I don't need 500 deals a year. I just need to do my 50 that I know how to do and do it really, really well.
Right.
So talk to me about that balance and how that served you up until today. Like, cause now it's 2024 and you've got I don't know, maybe 40, 50 houses you own, I'm guessing,
60.
right? 60 houses.
Yeah.
You just accidentally acquired 60 houses along the years. And how does that help you? How does that serve you? Like, talk to me about that. What has it done for you?
It is so amazing. I mean, the asset, that piece of it is so crucial to all of it, because you can leverage those properties for new acquisitions. You have all your tax benefits. And so Um, there's so many benefits to having rentals. And I started getting more aggressive and I was keeping the ones that I want. Past couple of years, I've just kept the ones that I wanted. We got up to 60. And so I use Buildium to manage them. I was paying a full-time property manager a crazy amount. I probably spend maybe, and this is because I have some vacancies, about 4 hours a month managing 60 units. And then we do have 4 midterm Airbnbs. And so I manage all the bookings. And then I have somebody who oversees that. But I'm the one that does the bookings and then hands it off to her. And then I took on a business partner this year for the wholesaling and flipping. And I'm kind of giving that all over to him actually this week. So we've been working together, but now he's taking kind of his piece of that pie. But as far as having the rentals, what has it meant for me? I travel a lot. My daughter is in school in New York. I get to go see her whenever I want. We have a trip planned for my 50th birthday to go overseas. So I get to travel, the financial freedom, but the time freedom. Like there's nothing more important to me than the time freedom. And so I work now probably 20, 25 hours a week. And again, just to give you an idea, like we wholesaled 5 houses last month. And so wholesaled 5, I'm managing the 60 rentals, and then we've got the 4 midterm rentals. And so we keep a pretty high volume, but we have systems. And I think that's the biggest thing. So as a teacher and as, what I did wrong is I wasn't documenting everything. Like literally in 2018, I had to go to public records to see which houses I bought. I didn't even know, like I didn't have a comprehensive list. That's so sad, but true.
That's hard. Knowing you and seeing you being so generous to show me so many of your things in the past, like you have such great systems, and you are, like as I said when we started, you are so organized. Like I can't imagine Amanda Howell not even knowing what houses she owns.
Yes. So what happened again, pain is a great motivator. So when I started needing commercial lending, I told you I had those 10 that I had gotten mortgages on. So whenever I transitioned and wanted to use commercial lending to grow my rental portfolio, my finances were like my QuickBooks were a mess. They're asking how many houses have you flipped? And I'm like, I don't know. And so a bunch, I don't know. Let me look them up. I mean, it's comical when you look back on it. And so what I decided, I was like, oh my gosh, in teaching, you document everything you do. And then you just update it year after year and you just replicate those best practices and you keep tweaking them. And I was like, I need to take that approach to everything in my business. Absolutely everything. So like in our system, we have a document called house, or deal tracker. And so every house, now you can go back to, 2020, 2019, even is when I started doing it. And you can see every house, what we bought it for, what we sold it for, who bought it from us, what was the ARV percentage bought. And so now I have all of that at my fingertips. And then I also keep, in addition to just my balance sheet, I just have like a nice little financial packet. It has my LLC docs, everything. So anytime I need lending, it's one click. Like, can you imagine? I'm going to ask you for $1.8 million and I'm going to send one email. And that's pretty much it. And then wait to go sign the paperwork.
Yes, I cannot imagine because I know I need to do that. And it's like this week I'm buying a 122 unit apartment and I got to do a personal financial statement. I'm like tracking everything down and I'm signing for the $20 million loan. And I'm thinking, man, I should be listening to what Amanda told me like 3 years ago. I'm such a mess right now.
No, and it's never too late to start. That's the other thing. And it's amazing because you can go back historically. So, we're talking about me speaking at Flip Hacking Live. And so I'm able to go back and I know with certainty, okay, this was my net this year. And these were the properties that I know that I own 10. I know that it grew in this way. Like everything is data driven. And then also it helps you with zip codes and then down the road. So we have a system literally for absolutely everything. So like a closing today, I was sending off our closing checklist. Okay. So it's like you text this script to the seller, you text this to the buyer, you send them this email that has the utilities to make sure they get the utilities on whatever. Then you put them into our review funnel. So I got a review last month that was from somebody from 4 years ago.
Wow.
You know why?
Incredible.
Because they're going to be in my system till they die. Like if they don't give me that review, they're going to get it till they die.
Yeah.
So,
I love it.
but just like taking that systematic approach, and this is for, it changed the way I look at the world, for every business. I remember talking this over with Bill, and then I went to the donut shop the next week, and I was like, I have 10 ideas on how they could improve revenue just by systemizing. So,
Incredible. So powerful. Oh, so your business now, so you brought a partner in, so you still have the active income side where you're kind of handing the keys off of the execution of that to your partner. You're obviously the experienced person, so you've got able to implement your systems with that person. That's why that works really well. And then you've obviously got your rentals, but you're choosing what to do with your time today. You essentially built a business that bought you freedom.
yes.
Is it perfect freedom? Probably not, but I guarantee you have the freedom of choice,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really powerful. I can remember starting on this journey for me. That was really, I wanted the freedom to decide what I do with my time and where I put it, not to not do anything, but yeah, that's incredible. So you're gonna give a presentation at Flip Hacking Live that's gonna talk all about this stuff, and I'm personally really excited for it. I will be taking copious notes, as I always do when you're talking. What are you most excited about right now with what you have going on? Like, what is the thing that you're like really pumped up about in relation to your real estate business?
Gosh, that's a great question. I think it reinvigorates you when you're teaching somebody else what you know. Like, so getting to share my passion and teaching my business partner and then seeing those systems work, by the way, because this is somebody who has very limited real estate experience. And like his appointment close ratio is like 33%.
Wow.
That's insane, right? Mine's 25%. So
Yeah,
I
that's
need to get him
great.
on some more appointments to really look at those numbers, have a real good historical data. But what it is truly is it's like, if you follow the system, the results will come. And that doesn't matter if you're one person or if you're a team of 20. If you follow the system, the results will come. So you have to trust the system. So for example, like I use mail for marketing. It is a spigot I just turn on and off depending on how many houses I want to buy. It's quantifiable. Truly, like we're in a very down market right now. I was at the RIA event on Tuesday and 3 different people told me they took W-2 jobs. Like people are hurting. It's a hard time, but if you know the system, then even in the down times, and especially in the down times, because you're the only one that's getting deals, it works really well. So
It works really well.
whenever I say the mail thing, so like I own 60 properties. Do you know how many postcards I get a year? How many?
How
Guess.
many?
Just guess.
Probably. I mean, I would assume at least a couple per property.
So how many? So, okay. So 120?
Hundreds? Yeah, 120.
I get about 8 a year.
What?
8. So everybody who's listening, I get 8. You know why? Because they do one mailer and they give up. I never give up. I'm mailing for years. I mean, there are people in our system we've been mailing since 2019, and we still talk to them, and they'll give us referrals. That's another thing I want to talk about is in this industry, approaching it on every interaction, what's the opportunity? Either to serve or have an opportunity. So here's an example. I had a house listed on Sunday on the MLS, didn't really want to go show it. A neighbor wanted to see it. But I started talking to her and she's like, well, yeah, I just sold my husband who passed away, his 60-door apartment unit. And I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Let's chat. And so on a Sunday I go, we talk for an hour and a half. And I know there's a reason that we're here together. And so as we're talking, she's like, you know what? I don't think I want to buy this house. And I'm like, that's okay. No problem. And by this time I've given her a reference for an inspector for something else. I've given her a plumber. We have this vendor list of all of our contractors, gave her that. And then right at the end, she said, you know, Amanda, you mentioned something about you're selling this house because the interest rate is 8.5%. So if I have this chunk of money from selling these apartments, if I could offer you below 8.5%, do you think you could put my money to work? I was like, ooh, Cheryl, I don't know. I think maybe in the 7s we could maybe, I don't know. Let me look. I don't want to say that. And so now I have a new private lender that
Amazing.
feels good about 7%. And so like literally if it's every opportunity. So if you have a couple, like we bought a house seller finance, they wanted a higher amount. I said, yeah, if you'll carry the note for a year. And they were worried about taxes. So then I said, okay, well, we'll do like 650 a month principal only. So you don't have to pay the taxes. They agreed to it. So then after 12 months, when it was time to cash out, they cashed out, but then they decided they wanted to put their money back. And so you're just making these relationships. And we got to a point, I think we have this year, we've had like 9 referrals maybe for deals, like 9. Think about your marketing
Wow.
costs. And now we've upped it to where we pay $2,000 a referral because we're getting so many, and we want to keep it kind of the same for agents and regular people. Um,
Yeah, yeah, which is like paying somebody $2,000 for bringing you a great deal is super cheap, by the way. I
so
would say if you
cheap.
looked across the industry, it's costing people between $4,000 and $7,000 to acquire a property or to get a contract if you're spending money on marketing. So if somebody brings you a layup for 2 grand, like I'll give you 2 grand, we'll take you out for steak dinner, whatever you want.
And all of that though is free stuff. Like that is because of relationships. That's because of a vibrant Facebook presence. That's because I get those reviews 4 years down the road. Like that stuff anybody can do. You don't have to have a huge company to have that personal touch. We do handwritten notes. Our average appointment time is about 45 minutes. I mean, actually that's not average. That's like the minimum is 45 minutes. Sorry, I haven't been on an appointment for a minute, but um, anyway, so
But you're spending time with these people, and you're genuinely providing value to people's lives. You know, whether or not you end up doing a deal with them or not, and maybe you don't do a deal with them today, which you've proven over and over again. But in the future, other opportunities arise, and you know, people don't remember like your name or what you said, but they always remember how you made them feel.
mhm.
They always remember the type of interaction you have, what kind of person you are. So that's obviously a great reflection of you and your character and your values, that you are in a constant mode of giving and serving people either in your business or clients you work with. It's really incredible. It says a lot about you.
Well, I think it's the culture of 7 figure as well that influenced me in that way. When I started out, I was a scarcity mindset completely. I didn't want to share my stuff. I thought everybody would steal what I had. And then and it's so funny now. I know we both chuckled when I said that, but it's like nobody's willing to do what I'm willing to do. I'll give my playbook all day long, but go do it. Like you really can. Anybody can do it. But I had that scarcity mindset. And once you collaborate and only good things come back to you. It's like a boomerang that you send out. And so like if we give referrals to other wholesalers sometimes if it's a house we pass on, like we want to continuously have that network, and it comes back to us tenfold. Absolutely tenfold. And I mean that in monetary, but I also mean it just in good gestures and goodwill. And so it's been a very successful way to grow.
It's so incredible. Amanda, I know we both have commitments after this, so I want to be respectful of your time. You have such an incredible story of you have forged a great business over time. You've been through the ringer, you've learned the lessons, and I'm always just so impressed. And for everybody listening, like we're gonna have Amanda at Flip Hacking Live talking about this in detail and giving some actual stuff that you can take forward and implement in your business today. And if you heard what I said during the podcast, we looked back at the most successful investors in our community, like Amanda, who have learned how to not just get on the active income hamster wheel, but to also invest into assets. And that is what we're gonna be teaching. It's a framework that will show you not just how to make a lot of money, but also how to have your money make you money. It is way, way deeper than just wholesaling or flipping or buying rentals. There's this synergy between those skill sets and those things that can genuinely build wealth for you. I hope to see all of you at Flip Hacking Live. You need to be there October 10th through 12th. Go to fliphackinglive.com, get your ticket. It's literally the cost of a dinner. It will be the best return on investment you've ever made if you come there and you play all out. So go to fliphackinglive.com and join us. Amanda, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.